into on the season. It is time now for my favorite segment. Cup of Jojo
Yes.
with Josina Anderson. I did not know there would be food.
Fresh muffins.
I haven't had lunch, so
Yes, and notice you have the double chocolate one.
I'm going to have a double chocolate muffin as we do the segment.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm really hungry. Okay.
Yes.
We just talked about Matt Moore leading the comeback, but you have news on Dolphins wideout Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, Dolphins wide receiver Jarvis Landry was informed today that the NFL had insufficient evidence to find that he violated the personal conduct policy for April 1 incident in which the Broward State Attorney's office was investigating as to whether there was potential domestic battery in that situation.
Okay, so he's good. He'll be on the field.
Yeah, it doesn't have to worry about any looming legal situations or potential discipline from the NFL.
Okay, well, double chocolate on my side there.
Chocolate chip in your
Again,
teeth.
I wish you could all share this. This is really good. Okay, so that's a receiver in Miami. We have a receiver in Pittsburgh, Martavis Bryant. Does he want to be there? Does he not want to be there? Here was Mike Tomlin today talking about what exactly is Martavis Bryant's status.
He was out of bounds with some of his actions in terms of the things that he said on social media. It will be dealt with appropriately so. That ball's in my court. I haven't visited with him yet. When I do, I'll rain down my judgment and we'll move forward. He's a good guy to work with in the building and has been. He's worked diligently. I like his approach. But he says some things when he's not around us that are somewhat of a distraction. And I say somewhat because we're having to field questions regarding it, not because it's high on my damn agenda.
Listen, I love when Mike Tomlin speaks. I will rain down my judgment after that. Okay, so I'm raining down my judgment on this double chocolate muffin.
Yes.
What are you hearing? What's going on with Martavis Bryant?
So I talked to Martavis Bryant for about 15 minutes yesterday, and he said this is what his future comes down to. He said if they don't see any more changes with regards to his production, if I don't feel like things are improving, then I want out, period. That was on the record. He said, I love my city, I love my brothers, I love my teammates. However, you know, I got a family to take care of. So he feels like if I'm not given the opportunity to really play up to my potential, then he says, send me on my way. So I said, Martavis, what is it that you want? He said, Josina, I just want to be happy. I want to feel like I'm contributing. I want to feel like I can do all the things that I'm capable of. And I said, do you still feel like that can happen in Pittsburgh? And he said, yes, I feel like I can flourish there. I did it 2 years ago. And I said, well, so when's the last time that you had a one-on-one with Mike Tomlin? And he said, well, Mike Tomlin and I talk about a lot of things, but we haven't talked about this.
Why not?
Well, he said he talks to his wife. That's a great question, right? And that definitely stuck out to me, Trey. He said, I talked to my wide receivers coach about it, but he said, I've been holding so much of this inside. He said, I don't want people to think I'm selfish. I'm not a selfish player. And he said, I also hate when people say, oh, this is like my rookie year over again. He said, this is not my rookie year period. I've contributed on this team. I feel like I can do it. It's just the fact that I don't feel like it's happening the way that I want it to happen. So then lastly, real quick, Trey, I just said, well, you know, the Steelers don't have to trade you. So what happens if that doesn't happen? And then he said, so be it. Then I won't resign. I will play out this year. I will play out next year. And then that's it.
So he's drawing a line in the sand. All right, let's bring in the guys here, Tim, Lou, and the Commander-in-Chief, Bill Polian. What's your takeaway from what you're hearing? Because really, at this point, Juju Smith-Schuster is taking a lot of the reps Martavis Bryant was going to get anyway, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Juju Smith-Schuster's won the job. It's that simple. If Martavis Bryant wants to be better, he needs to earn the job. If he wants playing time, he needs to earn it. It's not going to be given to him, especially given the fact that he missed all of last year. So it's really a simple equation. He's got to earn the playing time. And if he doesn't, he'll be where he is right now.
As far as it goes in the locker room, you know, Mike Tomlin said he's going to have his punishment, but quite honestly, you know, Martavis Bryant's insulted teammates and basically said, hey, listen, like, I should be doing this, not you. I mean, I think he needs to be reminded that it's a team game. And as much as you want to say, like, hey, I'm not selfish, when you are concerned after wins that you haven't been targeted enough or you're not playing enough, that's completely selfish. And I feel like if there's one thing that can derail this really talented Pittsburgh team that's well coached and they have good players, it's selfishness. That can tear it apart, especially with somebody that's not really contributing that much as it is.
Yeah, look, we all know the negative draws that doing something like this can have on a football team, and you can't really defend Martavis at all. And I don't even really want to, as far as how he went and circumvented the normal channels that you would go through if you're disappointed in your play time, or you don't think as though maybe you're being evaluated properly. Whatever it is, Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin. Those are the people you need to talk to. You don't need to talk to us. You just talk to them. Because if you want out of there, they're the ones who are going to help you get out of there, and they're the ones who control your destiny, not us, them. Now, that being said, you're absolutely right. Pat Riley calls that the disease of me. When the team is doing good and you make it about you because you're not doing good, that's one of the number one ways to go ahead and tear down everything that you're trying to build up. And there's nothing wrong with this, expressing your disappointment, but not to us.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean? And that's where the flaw is here. And now this is going to follow him, because now if you're another GM for another team or a personnel director, you're going, okay, now we know where he stands as far as when things aren't going good for him. And I don't think anywhere in the manual it says we want players like that.
No, you're not out there looking for guys like this.
All right, guys, thanks. We'll see what happens. You want to have the final word here?
Yeah, I just want to add a little context, because I know just in talking to him and his rep, one of the things that they underlined was that Martavis Bryant put in a lot of work while he was trying to return back from this suspension. So that's part of it, wanting to feel affirmed, wanting to feel valued. The other thing, the other layer is the economic layer. I mean, he's lost almost about $850,000 between the suspension of missing all of last season and the 4 games from 2015. So there's an additional pressure there. Now, we can debate all day whether this was the right channel or not to express those frustrations. But the bottom line is, I think my biggest takeaway from the conversation with Martavis is, if he can just get some more communication and some more positive reinforcement, I think it would go a long way towards assuaging the situation some. And as you mentioned, you're like, why hasn't he talked to Mike Tomlin?
Right.
Doesn't seem like there's a lot of communication there. I feel like if he can get a that-a-boy and this is how we see things moving forward, that could help. But he said his personal deadline is a trade deadline. So.
I'm not sure Mike Tomlin's about the attaboys that much. It's about just go do what I tell you to do.
Big W.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens there. Josina, this is my favorite segment.
Yeah, I'm going to have my banana nut.
I'm sad, though, because the segment's over and the muffin's not done yet.
Can we get something to drink?
I'll finish the muffin.
Listen, man, I'm going down in flames with Goff, okay?
Well, of course you're in on the Rams.
They had the hottest quarterback in the NFL, thank you.
The entire show has been Lewis
There's no
loves Jared
decision
Goff.
to make. Look, the Rams are going to be playing in the NFC Championship. Mark it down.
I'm still eating the muffin. Lewis Riddick loves him some Jared Goff. We'll go into the film room. I'm bringing the muffin with me to talk about Jared Goff. Lewis is happy.
Clutch Performance is brought to you by Bridgestone. Bridgestone's Clutch Performance Drive Guard tires can take a puncture and keep going for up to 50 miles.
Nothing gets a family's full attention like my freshly prepared chicken.
Pro.
Welcome back to NFL Live, presented by KFC.
Coming up today on the Fantasy Show.
The NFL, in its infinite wisdom, gave 2 teams bye weeks on Sunday, while 6 teams have bye weeks in each of the next 2 weeks. And considering all the quarterback injuries, there's a pretty good chance you're going to need to look into a quarterback on the waiver wire. So here are the top quarterbacks available in more than 50% of ESPN leagues. Andy Dalton, available in 2/3 of ESPN.com leagues, has a nice matchup with the Colts on Sunday. Josh McCown, 3 straight games with multiple touchdowns. Case Keenum doesn't get better than a matchup with Cleveland. Matt Moore and Jacoby Brissett have also flashed upside at various points this season. Slim pickings, no doubt, but if it makes you feel better, you only have to start one of these guys for 1 week. Certain NFL teams have to start them all season long.
That plus more puppets today on the Fantasy Show at 5 on ESPN2.
Well, as we continue here on NFL Live, we're inside the Verizon film room taking a look at Jared Goff. And Jared Goff struggled immensely last season as a rookie, as we all know. He lost all of his 7 starts, but lo and behold, the tide has turned. Tim, as you look at Jared Goff, we talked about the development year 1 to year 2 with Carson Wentz off the big game in Philadelphia Monday night. What about the development you've seen with Goff? What stands out?
Well, I think what stands out is that he's being coached really well by Sean McVay. And
Are you saying coaching matters in the NFL?
I am saying coaching
shocked
matters.
to hear you say that.
Coaching matters. And when you watch him, you can tell that there's an understanding of the situation and everything that's happened around him. His right tackle, Havenstein, is going to sift this protection area. It's a really tough task. As you see Tyrann Mathieu coming upfield, he can't really set on him. He's only able to get a hand on him. Well, Jared Goff can make this better by climbing in the pocket, but quickly. You don't need to get all the way up in the pocket. Just a quick reset, ball out accurately, you stay on schedule. Also, just understanding the matchups. The passing game doesn't always have to be about your wide receivers and your tight end. Todd Gurley matched up on Carlos Dansby is a perfect matchup that they want to attack. And then you get a route runner for a right-handed quarterback going to the left. It's very easy to throw that ball behind somebody running like a shallow cross or a burst like that to your left, but to have that ball accurately where there can be run after the catch, those are little things that are big deals in quarterback meeting rooms and when you watch the film, and that stuff is showing up in his favor now, where a year ago it really wasn't.
Okay, so obviously there's been a huge improvement from year 1 to year 2. The question then becomes, Lewis, he's your guy. This is your team. How high can he
Where's
go?
the tattoo, by the way? The
Oh,
shoulder?
no,
the golf tattoo?
we're not going there, positive. We're not going there.
That was kind of negative, actually.
Yeah, it was. I was trying to spin it positive, see, because this is a positive segment. How high? Look,
what's the ceiling?
I don't really know what it is. I just know that right now, I think the sky, let's just put it this way. I'm going to use a cliche. The sky's the limit with him because of the fact that I think, as Tim alluded to, one, the structure of the offense that he's playing in now and the quality of the coaching and feedback he's getting, obviously, is light years above what it was before. Because now the guy is being able to utilize the full arsenal of an NFL, a high-powered NFL playbook, and the personnel around him is so much better. Todd Gurley's had a resurgence. The offensive line is playing much more solid. He has weapons that can attack between the numbers and outside the numbers, short, intermediate, and deep. He has all those things at his disposal now. When he came out in the draft, I made a wild comparison, all right? Draft night, you remember?
I remember.
I said Joe Montana. I said, we're number 16. He looks like that at Cal. His ability to navigate the pocket and throw the ball under pressure was like anything you haven't seen.
Because he was under constant
That's right. So now, early in his career, if you remember, he was sitting back on his back foot and not climbing the pocket. Now, all of a sudden, Sean's got him moving up in the pocket. When you have things like that you see starting to progressively get better and better, the sky's the limit for this kid. I think he can be a top 5 passer in the league, continuing this kind of progression, and everybody stays consistent around him.
And just so people understand, and again, you can point stats any way you want. We use the QBR to rate quarterbacks on a scale of 1 to 100. His rookie QBR was 18. It was last among the NFL, but that's jumped up 35 points in 2017. That's the largest increase in QBR by any quarterback over the last 2 seasons. So the metrics tell you he's getting much, much better. When we continue here on NFL Live, it's a busy week for the Eagles players. After the game, several of them hit the Pennsylvania State Capitol to talk about some of the things they've been protesting about.
Film Room is brought to you by Verizon.
Chiefs have lost a couple in a row, as have the Denver Broncos. But the Chiefs have won the last 3 in this matchup. Jamal Charles comes back to Kansas City. It starts with Monday Night Countdown, and it is served by Applebee's. Well, Eagles defensive end Chris Long, safety Malcolm Jenkins, and wide receiver Torrey Smith turned their attention away from the field Tuesday to take a trip to Pennsylvania's capital to discuss criminal justice reform objectives with lawmakers and advocates. The group left Philly by 7:30 a.m., less than 8 hours after the Eagles polished off Washington 34-24 to improve to an NFL best 6-1 on the year.
You guys must be tired.
Gotta go? I thought I'd be more tired.
We'd be a lot more tired if we lost.
For sure.
The Clean Slate Act is really one of the reasons we've been here. We want to make sure that actually gets pushed through. We think it's important. I think it can really lead the way in our country as far as some of the reform that we're looking to see in our criminal justice system. Just watching my brother who, I got a felony for small amounts of marijuana possession at the age of 20, and now here we are years later, hadn't reoffended, works really hard, has a family he's trying to provide for, but can't find steady employment. And it helps that his brother plays in the NFL, but I know that there are millions out there that don't have that luxury.
In my case, my mother, she was in a very abusive relationship, and it led to her becoming a felon due to malicious wounding, defending herself. And so for me personally, we grew up, it was tough. We struggled. My mother worked multiple jobs, lower income jobs or heavy labor jobs, in order to provide for us. But 10 years later, and the Virginia process is a little different. She applied to get her rights expunged. And it was then Governor Mark Warner, who's now Senator Mark Warner of Virginia. She got her rights back. All of a sudden, my mom's making close to 6 figures because over that 10 years, she goes and she's educating herself. She's trying to stay hopeful for us, and trying to show us the way and do as I say, not as I did. And so she changed her life around, and it's because of people like you having a voice and trying to speak up for other people. You can change their lives.
It's hard enough to stay ahead when you have a clean record, you know, and I've seen that with a lot of my peers. But you know, getting a Category 1 misdemeanor, which is oftentimes nonviolent, you know, you're behind the 8 ball, and it's easy to see and hear these stories. It blows you away. So for me, it's more of an efficiency thing, but the human element of it is undeniable as well.
We'll see what happens there. When we come back, it's Adam Schefter and us wearing hats because it's a Tuesday, of course. You're in, well, of course you're in on the Rams.
Actually, you know what? I'm all in on putting helmets on. I feel mobile with this Deshaun Watson.
Nothing gets a van. Live is presented by KFC's Nashville Hot and Honey Mustard Barbecue Georgia Gold.
Coming up Tuesday at midnight, Sports Center at night with Scott Van Pelt. Actually, Wednesday at midnight. Game 1, post-game reaction from L.A. in the World Series. NL batting champ will join SVP on the set to break down the game. And after their 21-point loss Saturday, LeBron and the Cavs shuffle the lineup against the Bulls. Sports Center at night. You bet it's streaming on the app.
I think we thought this was a good idea when we started it, but now I'm not so sure. Helmets, hats, team, we're all in on.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Man, which way?
So you can see the
no, okay, there we go. That's how that works.
Jaguar.
This does not even feel right. I need a star on this thing. He's going all in on the snugness of that thing.
Mini Adam
Size helmet.
I got the mini helmet on top of that.
You gotta put your helmet on. Let's go.
You know what? And it never goes on.
We're going to have a flashback in his helmet. Who gets hit?
Come on.
Let me see your head. How confident are you?
Put a helmet on you, you're a different guy.
You know, it just changes me.
It just changes you dramatically. So we're going to get into who we're all in on Hat Tuesday in a minute. But first, we have some news regarding Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, he posted this picture on social media saying the 20-year-old rookie receiver had his bike stolen that he rides to practice. And his teammate, Antonio Brown, responded with a Twitter offer. I've got 2 tickets to a Steelers home game for whoever returns Juju's bike to the Steelers facility. So hopefully they'll get his ride back.
Wow.
You know, teammates coming to each other's defense.
That's it, AB.
It is.
A lot of young guys, young wide receivers riding bikes to games, practices.
Why not? Well, that's what they do at Packers land every year for training camp.
Good for the environment.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Coming from you. Well
done. Let's go.
Positive.
Positive. He was positive. All right, it's time for Hat Tuesday. But, Adam, we've got some news surrounding the Dallas Cowboys before you tell us who you're in on.
Well, first, I don't think Martavis Bryant is the one that stole that bike. As for the Dallas Cowboys, they signed kicker Mike Nugent, the former Bengals, Jets, Bucks, Giants kicker. He will replace the injured Dan Bailey, and it'll be up to him to try to help take down the Philadelphia Eagles, which is the team that I am all in on. It is hard to imagine that the Cleveland Browns traded away Carson Wentz. It is hard to live with that every day, knowing that this guy has a chance to be one of the next great quarterbacks in the NFL, a combination mix of John Elway and Ben Roethlisberger.
Wow, combo. Wow. Elway, Big Ben. You are definitely all in, Adam Schefter. And good luck to you, Mike Nugent, replacing Team Bailey. Very difficult. Okay, now, Lewis, we have the Rams helmet out here because you can't pick them this week because they're on a bye,
Yes.
although you want to pick them.
I'm glad I'm here for this technicality.
You think you're going to win the bye with
In
the
my
Rams.
heart, I picked them already.
All right, so this week, who are you all in on? Because you can't pick the Rams.
I'm going to go in on the Saints, baby. And you know what? This is a tough one for me. And that's no disrespect to the Saints. But I'll tell you this. They're playing defense now. They're playing smart defense. They're taking the ball away. And look, on the offensive side of the football, Drew, like I said earlier, he could throw to 5 mailmen, milkmen, firemen. It doesn't really matter. He'll throw for 400 on you. So this team has got it going on right now. Dennis Allen, you've done a great job. Saints, are you for real? The division's right there to take. Can you take it?
By the way, we had Cam Jordan on the show last week, and I said, if you guys win in Green Bay.
Oh, he did say, I saw that.
He said, when we win.
He sure did.
You're right, they've ripped off 4
Nice call,
straight.
baby. Nice call.
Who are you in on?
Well, I'm all in on a team that has a lot going on. They got guys missing their bikes. They've got a head coach that's about ready to rain down punishment.
How about that, right?
But I think that this team is just so talented. They're well coached. They've got a good quarterback. And I think that just when you look at Pittsburgh, I just think they're too good, and it's a division that I believe that they're going to end up walking away with.
Okay, we'll see what happens there. I'm all in on Matt Moore. Now, Matt Moore came off the bench and led the Dolphins back. But you know what? In hindsight, maybe he should have been the guy all the way as soon as Ryan Tannehill went down. He played very well last season for them when Tannehill got hurt. It's been up and down with Jay Cutler. Don't ask him to run the Wildcat, that's for sure, and be a wide receiver. All in on Matt Moore being the stabilizing force for the 4-2 Miami Dolphins.
Do you think this is Juju's bike helmet?